to another fantastic, fan-friendly episode of Boxing. Eat that shit up. Please, as always, give me the thumbs up button because I truly greatly appreciate it. More than anything, I just appreciate you listening, and if you could interact in the comments would be great. But more importantly than anything else, sharing the content around, lo and behold, it helps your favorite YouTube channels grow. More than anything else, like your boy, and also even beyond myself, if you listen to shows and you enjoy them, please help them and share them around. It's free and it's easy. All it takes is just boom, you hit the button, it's done. Today we're here for a really cool episode of Boxing. Stephen Fulton Jr., Cool Boy Steph, taking on Inoue, the monster from Japan, taking him on in Japan. Both fighters are undefeated. This is yet another unification undisputed bout in boxing. They have given us quite a few over the last couple years, and I fear that this year in general, with this fight, and within the same damn month, at the end of this month, the most highly anticipated fight of Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford, which we did an episode on this channel already, and giving you gambling picks as we always do, so on and so forth. This is going to be a special year for boxing. Hopefully, after we get the bullshit Francis Ngannou thing out of the way, we can maybe have a Ngannou Usyk at the end of the year. I want to hold out hopes for that, but we've also already gotten the Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia fight. We have Plant versus Benavidez. What a historic year for boxing, point blank period. One of the best years in a very long time, and I really truly feel like this might go down, and especially if things play out at the end of the year with what we've already had to enjoy ourselves with, this might be one of the best years for boxing. But as far as this fight goes, Stephen Coolboy Steph, I believe he's 21-0. Both fighters undefeated, like I said. Inoue, I think, is 28-0. Is he 24-0? Or he might be 28-0. Both fighters absolutely tremendous. Now, here's the thing. The monster's going to have the power, right? Absolutely. The monster going to have the power, but how does it translate, being as that he's moving up in weight? And by the way, if Inoue is able to beat Stephen Fulton Jr. and unifies all the belts at 122, he already did this at 118, and that would make him a 3 weight class world champion, and absolutely, I mean, he already should be on your pound for pound list, no doubt. And how could you have him less than like number 4, I think? And if he wins in this fight, as we're having a talk about, will the winner of Spence Crawford at the end of the month be pound for pound number 1? If either Inoue or Stephen Fulton Jr. win in this fight, how are you not having them way up there in the conversation? Like, if it's Inoue, and people want to say if he wins this after this fight that he's pound for pound number 1, I have to think more about that myself, but I'm certainly not hating that idea off the bat. I'm going to tell you that right now. So this fight is very important, but he is moving up weight. So how does the power translate up there? That's always something we're going to have to see for ourselves. It always has been the case in boxing. But we shall see. But not only does he have power, Inoue has incredible shot placement, right? So his punching placement is really fantastic. It almost looks as if he can just, like, when he throws something, it's obviously you throw down here to feint and then go up top or whatnot. But it almost looks like he can choose midway whether it goes to the chin or up top, based on the guard of it looks the thing of beauty, his punches, and they're just placed so incredibly. He doesn't really waste punches either, and he throws quite a bit because he is an aggressive fighter, for sure, right? He is a fan-friendly fighter with almost all knockouts, by the way, but I think he's only won 3 of those 21 fights by decision, and they were all world title fights. One of them being that legendary first, him and Nonito Donaire. But yeah, he's got a lot going for him. Also, when he's punching, if he can bring your guard up where opponents shell up, he knows then how to bang that liver shot to the body, and he loves to do that. So you can't shell up in front of him. If you run away from him, he'll chase you down, and he has good feints. Inoue Inoue, very good feinting. So a lot of times, like, he does have a great jab, so he'll jab your head off, and then he'll feint and bring an overhand right in, or he'll feint and get you to throw something, and then when you're stepping in, he lands that straight right while you're stepping into it. So he is definitely maybe deserving, right, of being a favorite in this fight. But let's talk for a second about Stephen Fulton Jr. and what he brings to the table. So I want to look up something for you guys that I pulled up earlier. Let's go over really quick their resumes here. So we had Inoue Inoue, right? So he fought Nonito Donaire famously in that fantastic fight. You know, he had a couple other names on his belt that you may not be so familiar with before that, but definitely not low-class fighters, not fighters with losing records or anything like that. He has been on a straight Vasil Lomachenko-esque kind of path in his career, just trying to get up every belt he can, and by so far the majority of his fights in his pro career are all world title fights, basically. But his first, then he gets that Nonito Donaire step up there when they were like running the tournament style there, which was awesome, by the way. They should bring that back. But when they were running like that kind of tournament for the divisions down there, he got to the end with Nonito Donaire, and that fight is an instant classic. If you haven't seen it, you truly need to. Donaire, as an old, dogged veteran, just really showing the boxing IQ and the veteran savvy in that fight. Breaking Nonito Donaire's orbital bone early in the fight, right? With a nice, clean counter shot. Not even he like kind of caught it beforehand. And Inoue Inoue showing the chin, or the eye socket, so to speak, in this fight. Absolutely great. Didn't even get dropped from it. Came back and did deservingly win that fight, which was just unbelievable. But after that fight, he moves on. He fights Jason Maloney, who, listen, I love the Maloney brothers. There's two of them, but Jason Maloney from Australia, he's not like he's a great boxer, but he's not world class, you know. So let's just he's proven that within these losses here. So and his brother has as well, but loved them nonetheless. But Jason Maloney, he's expected to get that win, and he does in vicious fashion. Gets the KO. He has some good names on there. He gets Donaire again, and then the Paul Butler again is not the second Donaire fight. He just knocks him spark out right away. I mean, that went 2 rounds, for God's sakes. The guy is hands down, as far as smaller class fighters go, he is the most powerful smaller class fighter that I have ever seen in my life, and that is absolutely 100%. So that alone says a lot about this guy. But yeah, Jason Maloney expect to get the win, but the way that he did Donaire in that second fight within 2 rounds was just a showing of like, that, you know, if he's saying that other night was a little bit of a fluke for me, or I broke my orbital bone, that's a fact, you know, early, and so it was hard to continue. I mean, it was just so proven. It was so proven in that second fight that we were all I was looking forward to, and thought that he'd win, but that Donaire, it would be similar. It would be another great fight with an absolutely world-class boxer in Nonito Donaire. Paul Butler, he fights, was 34-2, but this a guy coming out of, I think Paul Butler was English, right? He's coming out of the other country, and he's fighting lower level competition. Paul Butler, Paul Butler is he came in there and he did run around the ring. I'm a guy who hates when people say they run around the ring, because usually people that say that don't know what they're talking about whatsoever, don't know anything at all about boxing or technique, and they're like, be tougher, and they've never fought. They don't. So I hate people that say that usually. Oh, he's running away. But this was a case of that. I have to say that, because there wasn't all of this slickness involved in it either, where you're making your opponent miss a lot. It's just a lot of high guard backing up stuff where you get him throwing against the gloves, or, oh my God, get down the body, get the hell out of there. And there's not a lot of punches being thrown back. There's no clean counters. That is what kind of running is. So he intended to survive, couldn't. Now, Inoue showing his greatness in the sense that a guy who was very frustrating in his tactics that had nothing to do with trying to win the fight, but only clearly just surviving it, was he didn't let it frustrate him enough that he was able to find a way, pin him against the ropes, and get him the hell out of there finally later on in the fight. And now he's facing Stephen Fulton Jr. And let's go over his resume real quick. Stephen Fulton Jr. just, he had the traditional pass up there, but the path up there to the top. But, it's not long. It's not as long as a lot of other guys. Certainly a way quicker path than like Jaime Munguia or somebody like that, right? But, for instance, he fought Isaac Avalar, right? When he was 15-0, he took his O. Isaac Avalar is a good boxer. Angela Leo is a very good boxer who I did think was absolutely world class, and I was very excited when we got Cool Boy Steph versus Angela Leo, and he just unanimous easy money for Cool Boy Steph. And really, that was his step up to showed me for sure, like, okay, watch the fuck out for this guy after beating Angela Leo. And then he fights Brandon Figueroa, 22-0, but way more important than the record is the name there. Brandon Figueroa is a hell of a fighter who has proven himself to absolutely he is a world-class fighter. And he got beaten majority decision by Cool Boy Steph. And then after that, Daniel Roman, 29-3. Daniel Roman pulled, I forget who the damn fight was against, because I have a little bit of notes. I don't do a lot of notes, but I forget who the hell that fight was against. With Daniel Roman, just had a fantastic upset, and then came into this fight and was just made to look easy. So Cool Boy Steph, if you look at the resumes, they've both had incredibly hard fights that were very, very good fights. But, like, I want you to understand something. That Brandon Figueroa fight with Cool Boy Steph was like a fight. It was like fight of the year, probably, right at the end of the year there. They've both, and the Nonito Donaire fight we already talked about, they both have very tough fights against very good opponents, but getting Donaire twice, he was able to show in a way that he was much better, but also he'd been in there with him once. You get those rematches, and sometimes what happens is somebody's like tactics really can surprise you. When you get in there a little bit, you can be thrown off guard and it can lead to like a knockout, or even like this, like if you're getting hurt really bad quickly, it can really fuck up your night for the rest of your rounds and maintain your game plan, fuck up your mindset a little bit. So that may be more the case of what happened in the second fight with Donaire. He already had been in there with him for 12, probably wanting to do a lot more than he was able to, being super careful of that eye and not wanting the fight to be stopped. And so I think that was just showing that if I had that chance, even I could have got this done in one fight with the stoppage as well. But regardless, Cool Boy Steph has fought a lot more good competition. So different guys each time. Cool Boy Steph does change his style around, so that's very good, and he talks about that. He says that with Nonito Donaire, I like the things he's saying, let me say that. Naoya Inoue. He says, I changed my style for each opponent that I'm facing, tailor-made to beat my opponent. So I changed my style around. I don't have one style, but he's like, you know how I like wore it out with Brandon and stuff. Like, I'm not doing that, and that's specifically because he sees that Nonito Donaire capital is very good at capitalizing on his opponent's like recklessness or aggression charging in. Inoue is a very powerful guy. We all know that, but he's a very good counterpuncher as well. And so he knows how to time you really well. And that is true. And that's Cool Boy Steph recognizes that and saying that I'm not going to be chasing him down. I'm not going to be like just coming in on him. I'm going to make him work for it. And let me tell you something. We were talking about the Paul Butler fight with Inoue, how he was able to finally get him out of there. Paul Butler is like on such levels below Stephen Fulton Jr. that I can't really even begin to describe. And Stephen Fulton Jr. can fight well, actually, going off of his back foot a little bit. Although his head movement, he doesn't move his head too much, and that could get him in a lot of trouble against Donaire, honestly, because Donaire relies on, like I said, like a lot of times the feinting. And if you're not like, you don't want to like react to the feint like, oh, and so move my head to the left. But if you just constantly are having a little bit of head movement, you're kind of setting your own rhythm a little bit more than being concerned with the feints. You're just seeing the punches. People that are doing that are comfortable enough to be doing that. I don't know how to describe this exactly, but people that are biting on feints, a lot of times they're standing there rigid. Oh, I'm biting on the feint, and then they're showing the way they want to move their head, or feints off to the like. Oh, I want to dip my arm. So maybe if I do that, you can catch me up top. But so when you're a little bit more in the flow, like Cool Boy Steph does, he's going to deal with that pressure a lot better. And he kind of is very good, Stephen Fulton Jr., at setting the rhythm of his, like playing to the rhythm of his own beat, so to speak. So he knows how to get in motion quite well to have his defense on point, but not be stiff and concerned with what other people are doing. But again, so what I'm saying is he'll do very well defensively. He always does. But specifically this, because a lot of times when he backs up and he can dip his head back and he'll fuck you up on your way inside, all that good stuff. But when he backs up, he doesn't really move his head. So he's not, a kind of slip and rip guy all the time. So that might get him into trouble. If you're backing straight up and not moving your head, Inoue is going to be... Listen, I want to see how the power translates like we talked about. But that's more to just be like, I want to see if he looks as powerful, if he whatever. You can bet your sweet ass he's still going to be plenty powerful enough to at least accumulatively fuck up Cool Boy Steph if he is able to hit him enough, So that's guaranteed. So you can't take a lot of chances with a guy like that. But yeah, Cool Boy Steph should do well. And just to let you guys know something here before we get into our pick and the gambling odds right now. I did pick Cool Boy Steph actually to win the fight the first time when I thought about this, like about some weeks or a month ago. This fight, by the way, was supposed to have already happened. They reset the date, thank God, and we're still getting it, more importantly than anything to me, this year, within a packed year of fights. But I did pick Cool Boy Steph originally to actually win this fight and win it only by unanimous decision, or win it by decision, right? Or majority, whatever. To win the fight by decision, Cool Boy Steph. Now, I'm going to tell you about the odds, even though my pick has changed. It's just more and more that I look at this fight, which is kind of like a 50-50 fight, you guys. It really is. I think that the more like where you're not jumping out a reason. If you were to say Naoya Inoue should be favored, I kind of agree with that a little now. But that's no more than like a 60-40 kind of deal, you know, no more. And he started off as a plus 200 underdog. So I looked at that money and said, that's a very, I mean, this is a fight that we could see Fulton just ride this wave and actually beat the monster. Especially because the monster's moving up in weight to him, you know? But one, it's in Japan. And I'm not really worried about so much like home cooking on the scorecards kind of deal like England does a lot of times and some countries over there in Europe. I'm not really as concerned as that. It's not like it's not on the table, but Japan actually really good fight fans there. So like there's arguments about, you know, who's better, Mexican or Irish fight fans, but we're both rowdy and we want to support our guy, but we're good fight fans in that way. The Japanese have a kind of different way. They really like truly love the sport of it, and they do want to be fair on the scorecards. They have in the past been fair on the scorecards. And they kind of are fans that will be a little more quiet and watching and actually appreciating the sport instead of just getting drunk, you're looking away, you're talking to your friends kind of deal. So not worried about the home cooking in that sense, but what is really important about this fight taking place in Japan and Stephen Fulton Jr., an American, traveling over there all the way around the other side of the world, is that time differences always seem to play at least a bit of a factor. Even when people win, you can see they don't look exactly themselves. And a lot of times people lose or upsets have happened, and that's due to, you know, being off on your time when you travel. And so when you're all the way around the world as far as you can go, China or Japan, right? You almost, because Japan is basically almost right there. So you're literally so far off that I forget exactly when this fight is taking place. It's on the 25th, but the time I forget a bit. But I want to say sometimes you'll be over there and feel like you should be sleeping. Even when you've been there some weeks ahead. I've seen it a lot of times with other fighters traveling to these far distances, even when they get there weeks ago, because I know Cool Boy Steph has already been there. It takes a while. And when you go as far as that, that's the most extreme of the time difference in not just your head, but your body. You should feel like maybe I should be sleeping. When's this fight taking place? Here, it's a normal time, but my body clock says that I should be sleeping, and why am I fighting at 3 a.m. when I'm not drunk and out at a bar or something, you know? So that is what worries me to play a factor. And also just that if this fight was so close 50-50, you factor that in. And then what I've thought about a lot more and more is how he doesn't move his head when he goes backwards, and that he could get clipped. And I've worried about the power a little bit more before with Inoue than I do now when I think about it with him going up. I think it'll translate. From 118 to 122, I think it'll translate, and we'll see a full-on Naoya Inoue performance that we're totally used to. So I think this fight possibly even goes decision. Maybe he gets him stopped. But when you look at the odds, Stephen Cool Boy Steph is a plus. Started as a plus 200. He is now a plus 250. So there's a lot of value in a guy that can totally win this fight if he performs well. And plus $250. So if you were having $100 and you threw $25 on that, you're getting about $100, almost, or $100. So that would be like winning 70, which you can throw the 70 on who is a favorite. On Inoue is a favorite, but if you put Inoue by KO, by stoppage, that is a plus 100, and that is, most likely how Inoue would win a fight with a guy like Stephen Fulton Jr., who's actually pretty good at winning rounds himself, and wants that kind of style because he doesn't really probably plan on stopping Inoue Inoue. He wants the scorecards. I bet he'll be very much more aware of that. And Inoue Inoue, the monster, as he always is, I think doesn't as much give a shit. He's just very good, and so some rounds he'll win, but I think he does look for the knockout. You know what I mean? Instead of like people always, oh, just let it come or whatever. He does let it come. Like, he doesn't force things, but I bet you he goes into every single fight, no matter what he says, and says, I'm going to fucking stop this guy. That's certainly the way he acts. So I will be putting some money on Inoue Inoue by stoppage, and then safely putting a teeny bit of money on Stephen Fulton Jr., who alone straight up to win anyway is a plus 250. Those odds go way up in your favor if you look at a decision. You don't even have to pick, just win by decision. That would be the way that Stephen Fulton Jr. wins this fight. And pretty much, if Inoue Inoue wins, it would be probably by stoppage. So I think those are your odds to run with. This has been fun. Yeah, we got a lot coming too. Don't think we're lacking here, even though we've been off for about 8 days or something like that. I have another Unknown to Casuals episode ready to go. This one, the Mexican edition, which will be very good. And then we also, we're dropping this. We have a lot of good work to do. I have an Olympics special of boxing kind of being on its way out from the Olympics, seemingly so. I have a great special on what the Olympics means to boxing, and just all around all the fighters we have gotten out of it, and also the most important, what it means to like the community to have gyms where people's only goal doesn't have to be 1 in a million to be able to turn pro, but a very doable goal of being successful if they take it serious at the amateurs and or the Golden Gloves and getting into the Olympics where you can represent your country. I think that one is a real shame, so watch out for that special coming up as well. Much love, stay safe, and stay fucking loyal, fight fans.